This is discussion board week 8, the final one, thank goodness. um, so I'm just going to jump right into it. So, describe and reflect on the process of developing the cultural and linguistic responsive practice plan. So, my child was 16 months old. And so my approach was more towards the toddlers than the preschool. So I went by the California infant and toddler standards. Um, the the process was it was a process. I'm not used to interacting with little kids. I've always been more towards like the older 3, 4, 5 year olds. So this was definitely a new learning experience for me. I really tried to keep in mind his home culture and kind of like the things they do at home and how I would bring that into the classroom. So, for instance, one of my activities surrounded blocks, and he really likes blocks at home. The interviews Mom and I conducted, she expressed to me that is like his favorite thing to do. So I used the child's interest for one of the activities. And then she did disclose to me, Mom did, Spencer's mom, did disclose to me that he is a little shy, and I definitely saw that in our Zoom meetings. And so I tried to use like the buddy system. So one of the ways that he can kind of help develop his language and his home language, Spanish and English, is to have kind of like a buddy. And so one of my strategies that I would have used if I was his teacher in the practice plan would be to set up like a little buddy system. So every morning when he came in, I would pair him up with a buddy, so he and that buddy would go on and do a activity together. So one, it's kind of helping him kind of like support his independence and that social aspect, and then it's helping him interact with somebody, and it's helping him use that language from home, and also English as well. I kind of noted in my lesson plan that what I would specifically look for over time, him continuing an activity with a buddy every morning, is that he kind of begins to start to, I guess, like, I'll just give you the example. So one of the examples that I put in there was that when he's talking to a student, he uses English if that student only speaks English. And then if a student speaks Spanish, he can flip back to his home language and speak Spanish. So kind of like the goal that I'm really looking for him in that activity and aspect of the plan was to see if he can start to make that switch between understanding like, oh, here's my home language, and this person also speaks my home language, so I'm going to talk to that other student in my home language. And then vice versa with English, like, oh, this student clearly only speaks English. I know English, or I'm starting to know English, so I'm going to use my English words. So I wanted, what I would look for as a teacher is if he's making that distinction. What went well and why? Well, I wasn't able to actually do anything with him. He's not in a center, and I don't teach little kids his age, but thinking about it, I think the only thing that might not go well is because he is shy, and that buddy activity might need to be worked on a little with him. I can see if it was the beginning of the school year, how I would probably have to invite him and another student to do something with me, and then after a while, when I see that he's making friends, he's getting more comfortable, then just kind of, hey, let's go do our buddy activity this morning instead of having me there. So that was the only thing that I can see maybe not going okay, or maybe running into some roadblocks. I don't like to say complications, but it could lead to maybe him kind of struggling socially with that. And also, the whole engaging him in an activity with the blocks, I can see him just not being interested in playing with blocks that day. So that might, be an issue, because my whole activity was getting him to use his home language and identifying the blocks and what we were doing with the blocks. And so that I can see, a kid just, I don't feel like playing with blocks today. So I can see where that might have, could have been kind of something that wouldn't have gone very well. But I think both activities would go pretty smoothly if he was genuinely interested in doing them. And for a kid, I think they would, the way that I would have engaged him to do both activities. So that was it. Thank you.